Hey everybody, how's it going? If you haven't heard already, Elon Musk made an announcement in the last earnings call that full self-driving can be transferred to another vehicle within this third quarter only.
We're excited to announce that for Q3 we will be allowing transfer of FSD. This is a one-time amnesty, so it needs to be you need to take advantage of it in Q3, but or at least place the order in Q3 within reasonable delivery timeframes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I hope this makes people happy. But we're not doing. Is this a one-time thing? Okay.
Up until now, you had to always basically say goodbye to full self-driving. Even if you dropped $15,000 paying for the software, when you sold the vehicle or when you purchased a new vehicle, you would have to buy it all over again. So this is a blessing for everybody who's been asking again and again, because it seems ridiculous to have to pay for it twice. But now is the time. If you want to transfer it, you can. It's a limited time offer. And of course, this is going to benefit Tesla. They can sell more vehicles because there's a lot of people that have purchased full self-driving and they haven't really received what they purchased. You know, back in 2019, Elon Musk was saying end of year, we would have a full self-driving vehicle. He was talking Robotaxis back then. None of that has come to fruition. So there's a lot of people that are very disappointed and they want to make sure they have the latest hardware. Now, in my opinion, the only reason to upgrade to a new vehicle is to get that new hardware. We now have hardware 4. It has the new cameras. It has the new, obviously, the computer system, the infotainment system. It leverages the Ryzen chipset. So I bought my Model 3 in March of 2019, and I have the Atom processor. It's not slow. I wouldn't say it's slow, but it's definitely outdated. My car has the radar. It doesn't have a heat pump. So this Model 3 is a long-range rear-wheel drive car. They don't even make these cars anymore. So my car is definitely dated. Now, does that make me feel bad? Does that make me want to get a new car? Yes, in some ways it does. And in fact, I went onto Tesla's website and I checked the prices. Now, the Model 3, which is the car that I really like, I still like this car, is not available yet with the new hardware. They keep talking about this Highland project. If you're not aware, Highland project is kind of like a refreshed Model 3. Supposedly the tail lights are going to be different. You're going to have better placement of the cameras. You're going to probably have hardware 4, new cameras. All of that's going to be refreshed. But up until now, that hasn't been released. So if you buy a new Model 3 today, you're going to get hardware 3, the same hardware that my car has. So that is a big bummer to me. And the reason why is because the Model 3 still today is the lowest cost Tesla. I am not made of money. I support a family of 5 with single income and do my very best. The only way I was able to afford a Model 3 was through investing. And I did a video, I'll post a link up here. You can go through and learn how you could possibly afford a Tesla if you're in a financial situation like me, where it's like, oh boy, how am I ever going to be able to pay for this car? Now, I never advocate to have another bill. So if you're driving a used car and you don't have any car payments, great. All the more power to you. Keep going that way. I never advocate for somebody to take on additional debt. So buying a new car is not cheap. You have to be aware of all the financial aspects of it. So check out my video if you're interested in learning on how I was able to afford a Model 3. So I went onto the website and I checked the Model Y, because the Model Y is the second least expensive Tesla that you can buy. And I found out that the price was, fairly close to what I purchased my Model 3, and I'd get the same range, around 325 miles for a full charge. So I then went to see if I could possibly, transfer FSD Beta over to a Cybertruck. And I found out, because I had to go on Google, I couldn't find on Tesla's website anywhere mentioning Cybertruck. I was on my mobile phone. Maybe there's a search on the regular website, but I couldn't find anywhere on Tesla's website any information about the Cybertruck. So I went to Google and I typed in Tesla Cybertruck reservation, and sure enough, a web page came up. I went on there, and all you could do was hit a reserve button. You pay like $150 and you can reserve the Cybertruck. So I wasn't sure if that supported it, and I backed out of there and I went back to the Y, and I was like, okay, what's the difference? So if the trade-in value for my Model 3 is less than half of what I paid for, And the full self-driving really doesn't get accounted in the trade-in value. So I was seeing on Facebook and Twitter people commenting on how they could sell their car to a third party and get more money that way. So obviously that's possible. I found that the trade-in value, so I purchased my Model 3 at $46,000 and I paid an additional $6,000 for full self-driving at the time. So that's what, $52,000 total, and then taxes brought it up another $3,000. So we're looking at, $55,000. That's a lot of money, okay, guys? That's a lot of money. $55,000. It's not just like you can just go to the bank and say, hey, here you go. So, I'm looking at ways to maybe justify transferring, because again, I would love to have the latest hardware. That would be great. But is it really worth it? So the trade-in value for my Model 3, after driving it around for 4.5 years with 69,000 miles on my car, is worth $22,000. So it's really, it makes it very difficult. I think the delta after I would get that $22,000 and then pay for a new Model Y was like $33,000. Granted, it's not 50, but 33 is also not a drop in the bucket. You can't just go over there and say, hey, yeah, here's 33 grand. So I'm at a little bit of a fork in the road. Now, here's the interesting thing. The very next day, I got a phone call from someone named Calvin, I think his name was, at Tesla. And the phone call came in from Nevada. So I was like, who is this? So I picked up the phone, and he said, hey, I noticed that you were on our website looking to purchase a Model Y. And he said, I also noticed that you were on our website and you're looking at a Cybertruck. So I was like, oh boy, like this is awesome. First of all, that they are able to track this and call me the next day. I don't know any other automotive company that would be able to do that, to be honest, that's that organized and proactive about things. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take advantage of this phone call. So I asked him some questions. I said, hey, if I were to sell to a third party, can I transfer FSD Beta to a new vehicle that I purchase? And he said, oh, that's a really good question. Let me check with my manager. So he came back after a minute and he said, yes, you can, as long as you transfer the software before you sell it. So I was like, how do they know when I sell it? So it's like, okay, you're about to sell it and then you go ahead and buy the car. So then I said, well, okay, can I buy a Cybertruck and transfer it? And he said, that's a really good question. Let me go and check. So again, I had to wait a minute or two. He comes back and he says that the Cybertruck would need to be delivered by September 30th. And it's not in production and you cannot do that.
Always very difficult to predict the ramp initially, but I think we'll be making them in high volume next year. And we will be delivering the car this year.
So I was like, okay. So basically, he said, don't count on it. He didn't say like you absolutely cannot, without a doubt, do that. Because, I mean, maybe you could order the Cybertruck in September, let's just say, or August. It finally is able to purchase. You can purchase it on the website. But still, even then, I doubt that you're going to get it by September 30th. So right now, the fine print says that you need to accept delivery to be able to transfer it. That to me is a big bummer because if I were to transfer, I would get a Model Y or a Cybertruck. But again, it costs a lot of money, and the Cybertruck is probably not going to be there anyway. So for me, right now, this is a no-go. I can't afford it. Now, I did look a little bit at my financial situation, and the whole reason, I'll give you as a little spoiler to the video that I dropped a link to earlier, I did purchase my Model 3 with an investment in Bitcoin. I had put about $1,000 in Bitcoin way back in 2015 or whatever it was, and 2016. And then within 2 to 3 years, that went from $1,000 all the way up to $60,000. That's $60,000. So I was like, this is great. So I was really excited and used that to be able to afford my Model 3. So the secret to being able to afford an expensive car or your dream car or anything that you really want to be able to achieve is to invest and start investing early. And I'm not talking about your 401k. I'm not talking about your Roth IRA. I'm not talking about your HSA or any of these retirement accounts. Even though HSA is for health savings, what I'm really talking about is your individual account. So after you save money, you should be saving money every month, right? Try to get to that point first, and then put little bits away. Just put a little bit here, a little bit there. Always be investing. And there's another word called ABC. Always be contributing. So always be contributing. You're going to be contributing to your 401k automatically through every paycheck, but make it automatic so that you are also investing in another account so you can afford something like this. So what that means is, I never advocate for, let's cut back on the coffees. Let's cut back on the fast foods. We're not going to eat out for this month. If you're having to kind of have that debate in your head, then you're doing something wrong. And what I mean by that is you really need to either get another job. So I hate to say it, either get another job, push, because inflation is out of control these days. And companies are reluctant to say, hey, you know what? This is out of our control, out of your control. We're going to give you a pay raise. And that's exactly the situation I found in my previous company. So definitely, maybe reconsider how money is coming in. There's other ways to make money. You can have a second income, which is very hard, by the way, but it's definitely worth it. You want to focus on passive income, try to get that. Anyway, a whole nother debate on the financial side of things, but it's a very, very important one. And, it plays into the factor of transferring FSD to another vehicle. Obviously, Tesla is going to benefit. Would I benefit? Yes and no. Did Tesla promise or guarantee that full self-driving would be achieved and complete on my car? Sort of. I think Elon's tweets kind of allude to the fact that it is going to be achievable on Hardware 3.
As people have sort of made fun of me, and perhaps quite fairly have made fun of me, my predictions about achieving full self-driving have been optimistic in the past. The reason they've been optimistic is what it tends to look like is we'll make rapid progress with a new version of FSD, but then it will curve over logarithmically. So at first, like a logarithmic curve looks like just sort of fairly straight upward line, diagonally up, and so if you extrapolate that, then you have a great thing. But then, because it's actually logarithmic, it curves over, and then there've been a series of stacked logarithmic curves. Now, yeah, I know I'm the boy who cried FSD, but I think we'll be better than human by the end of this year. That's not to say we're approved by regulators, and I'm saying that would be in the U.S. because we got to focus on one market first.
So the real question boils down to one thing. Am I happy, or do I believe that I will be happy with full self-driving in my current vehicle in the next 5 to 10 years? Because I bought this car to drive it into the ground. When I purchased it, I had no plans of selling it. Probably pass it down to my kids. I'll probably buy another car, whether it's new or not. Probably not. It's probably not going to be new. Let me just put that out there right now, because it's not a financially wise decision to buy new cars. But will it be there? I have to ask myself that question. Will it be to a stage where I will be happy with it? And am I happy with it today? Those are the questions I need to ask myself. And when I really sit back and think about it in that regard, I'm already happy with it. So I paid $6,000. If I had paid $15,000, I probably wouldn't be so happy with it, because it still makes mistakes and I can't relax. But I paid $6,000 for it. So I know you're probably like, okay, I'm going to stop watching this video because this guy's, way in the past, he's from 2019. Well, let me just tell you this, okay? If you're still on the fence of whether to purchase it and you haven't done it, get the subscription. So full self-driving is worth it to try.
Now we will offer, and I think we do sort of offer FSD as a sort of monthly subscription, although most people don't know that. So I'd recommend maybe trying it out as a monthly subscription, so you don't have to go with the $15,000 thing. But
okay, and if you buy a new vehicle right now and you use someone's credits, I'll throw my credits in the comments section. Please, I don't have any referrals. It would go a long way. I'd be so happy if you use my referral to purchase a new car, by the way. But if you do use someone's referrals, you get 3 months of full self-driving for free. So it's a great way to kind of dip your toes in and see how it's going to operate for you. But I will say that if you can understand how it operates and be comfortable with taking over when you need to take over, because that's the thing, is in the initial stages it's very uncomfortable because you don't know when it's going to screw up. It takes some practice, takes some experience to really get used to that. But I will say that once you get used to that, you'll generally know when you can relax. When it's, especially when you're looking at the map data and you're driving straight for a long time and you're on side streets, you're going to know that, hey, this is pretty good. I can sit back and get used to this. And that's really what it comes down to, is getting used to it. Once you get used to it, you really don't want to go back. I could not see myself, to be honest with you, driving a car without full self-driving. I've gotten to that point where I've spoiled myself. I use it every single day. Okay, and it's funny because my sister, I'm on a trip right now in Michigan. My sister asked me the question. She said, "Do you still know how to drive?" I didn't forget how to drive, but her question kind of made me laugh a little bit because I use it so much that driving manually is a chore for me. For example, next month I'm going on a trip to Texas. And I'm gonna have to rent a car. I'm gonna be driving that around, and I'm gonna be a little bit anxious because I have to drive manually. Everything's gonna be manual. I mean, even though it's an automatic transmission, you know what I mean. I have to turn the wheel, and I have to hit the brake pedal. You might look at me as like, oh, this spoiled brat. Well, look, I am big into tech, and I love testing this type of stuff. So I'm kind of one of those early adopters when it comes to this type of technology. I'm a geek. That's why my channel is called Tech Geek Tesla. So I splurged, and it was a splurge. I've never spent that much money on something like this before, but for me, it's worth it. It really has panned out to the point where I've gotten used to it. I know how to use it, and it makes sense for me as a driver. So will it make sense for you? I can't answer that question. You can see a ton of my videos. You can see where it screws up. You can see where it does well. There are places where it really impresses. If you're big into kind of seeing those movements where it does impress, but you're ready to take over, then I'd say, yeah, try it out. Try the subscription out. But yeah, to answer everybody's question of whether or not I'm going to transfer it to a new Tesla vehicle, the answer is most likely no. Now, I haven't completely decided. I might go and check the website one last time. If they change the policy to the point where you can buy a used Tesla and transfer it, then I'm going to be much more proactive with doing searches. And of course, I could sell my car to a third party and probably get maybe 30 grand, 8,000 more than what the trade-in offer is. But yeah, I was very disappointed in the trade-in offer because it was just a lot lower than I thought, especially considering the fact that full self-driving is worth $15,000. It doesn't even appear that Tesla takes into account the actual value of full self-driving. And what's even more surprising is it's out of sync with what Elon mentioned in the earnings call. He was basically saying that the full self-driving is cheap today. He was saying people have no idea.
And the price of FSD, so the weird thing is the price of FSD is actually very low. It's not high. When you go back to what I was saying earlier, the value of the car increases dramatically if it is actually autonomous. $15,000 is actually a low price, not a high price. Obviously, if the car is worth several times its original price, $15,000 is actually a low price for FSD. You can think of every car that we sell or produce that has a full autonomy capability as actually something that in the future may be worth as much as 5 times what it is today. But I think we'll be better than human by the end of this year. I've been wrong in the past. I may be wrong this time.
Now, maybe he sees the future. He said things before on Twitter about previous versions of beta and how it would blow everyone out of the water, how it was amazing and really, really good. And then I go and test it. It's like, no, it makes mistakes here. Like, what planet is he living on? So I've speculated that the beta team has kind of tweaked his software, or maybe his route, his commute is different from everybody else's. It might be a lot simpler. I don't know that he puts it through the tests that some of the other people do. So he may have kind of a biased view of it. Obviously he's biased because he owns the freaking company. So he's gonna talk it up like it's the best thing ever. But is it worthwhile? I mean, is it what's the word? Is it justified to really talk it up that much when it does make those mistakes? I don't think so. But he did say that it was cheap and that the value, it's going to be, the Tesla vehicles in the future are going to go up more than any other asset in history.
We think in the not too distant future, they will have a dramatic valuation increase. I think the Tesla fleet value increase to the point at which we can upload full self-driving and it's approved by regulators will be the single biggest step change in asset value maybe in history.
So when I heard that, I was like, you're calling a car an asset? That goes against everything I've ever believed when it comes to vehicles. Vehicles rust over time, wear and tear on the parts. You know, there's so much stuff that can go wrong, accidents. A vehicle has never appreciated over time. So for him to make that statement is a very bold thing to do, and he's known for that. He says these outrageous things, and I can't get on the same page with him on certain stuff like that.
An added comment here. So Elon's obviously talking about when these cars are robotaxis. And robotaxi has been a word that I really haven't heard for several years now. Elon never talks about robotaxi anymore on Twitter. He was talking quite a bit about it in 2019. But, you know, robotaxi is a little bit far-fetched in my opinion. There's so many edge cases. I honestly don't see that happening until 2030 at least. So this whole idea of upgrading FSD is kind of giving us old timers an opportunity to kind of get on to the latest. But then that begs the question, is hardware 4 the latest? You know, do you hold out for hardware 5? How about hardware 6? I honestly think that we won't see robotaxis until hardware 7. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. This is not something that happens overnight. So I just thought about this a little bit more. This is something that I haven't really completely panned out, and obviously I don't work with the Tesla development team, so I don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, but AI has surprised me significantly. I mean, look at ChatGPT and all the DALL-E AI generated art. Some of that stuff is absolutely phenomenal, and if you have the right training sets, so there's Dojo, which is a big deal right now, and I don't know a whole lot about Dojo. I know that it's a huge training set. AI can change overnight, okay? So I'm not completely dismissing the thought of full self-driving with a robotaxi capability being possible, you know, in 2024, but I don't see it happening in 2023 for sure. And I don't see it happening in 2025. I really see this happening in 2030 or later. So it's an immense challenge. And like I said, there's so many edge cases. And based on the progress that I've seen so far, it is a ways out there still.
But when he says stuff like that, people are like, So if he says that and he really believes or is trying to pave the way for that to happen, why is the trade-in value for my Model 3 $22,000? I mean, at a minimum, Tesla should value the full value of full self-driving with the trade-in if they're on the same page. So that's happened many times where Elon's on another page compared to his entire company. And I think they scrambled to release the terms for this FSD transfer because a lot of people on Twitter are saying that it doesn't read very well. It's kind of a mess and it's going to be modified. So we'll see if things change a little bit. Like I said, if I can transfer it to a used car, then yes, I'm going to consider it a lot more heavily. So that is my current situation. I hope you guys can understand what the thought process is going through my head. You know, financially, it's just not easy. It's not an easy decision. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.